The word, the word. Switch the bracelet on. The word, the word. The word, the word. Switch the bracelet on. The word, the word. The word, the word. Switch the bracelet on. The word, the word.
Good evening, welcome along to the live Word on Blake 7, and we are looking back at Series B, Episode 6, Trial. Looking forward to it tonight. I'm waiting for Neil as well. We're hoping Neil will join us. We've had to start because we did say 7 prompt, so here we are. And here he is, right on cue. There you are, Shira. Wrong podcast. Good to see you, Neil. Right, okay.
Can you hear me? Just because I'm like in somewhere.
Yes.
We can hear you, Neil. You're looking great and we can hear you. So fantastic, mate. Okay, I'm going to give the synopsis of the episode as always. Travis is on trial at Space Headquarters for the massacre of some 1,400 unarmed civilians. A trial which has been rigged by Servalan so that Travis will be found guilty, executed, and thus be unable to supply evidence concerning her inability as Supreme Commander to capture Blake. Blake, meanwhile, is guilt-stricken over the death of Gan and retreats to an uninhabited planet, making sure that the crew cannot find him. He soon discovers that the planet is inhabited, after all, when he meets a mischievous imp named Zill, who first steals Blake's homing beacon and teleport bracelet before trying to explain the complex life pattern that exists on the planet. It becomes evident that the planet is itself alive, and Zill merely a parasite. The oceans of the planet are organic and are rising rapidly in order to reduce the number of such parasites on the surface. Before long, Zill falls into the planet's interior and is absorbed. Threatened with a similar fate, Blake springs back into action and avoids capture long enough for the crew of the Liberator to disobey earlier orders, locate him, and teleport him back. Travis is defending himself at his trial, arguing that his action was a direct result of his training as a Federation officer. The 3 judges are worried and they retire. Having overcome his guilt feelings, Blake decides to revive the legend of his crew's invincibility by carrying out a raid on Space Headquarters using Avon's cloaking device as cover. They hit the space station just as Travis is pronounced guilty. As the emergency shutters close, Travis escapes, unhindered by Servalan, who allows him to take a ship piloted by mutoids in order to continue, unofficially, the search for Blake. And that comes, as always, from Tony Atwood's programme guide. For me, this episode, following off the back of Pressure Point, from my early recollections, I thought was going to be a bit of a nightmare. But I've got to be honest, I enjoyed it. Episode 6, Trial, transmitted Tuesday, the 13th of February, 1979. Author was Chris Boucher. Director, Derek Martinez, and the cast of this one: Sam Orr was John Savardant, Burkle John Bryans, Runtain Peter Miles, Thania Victoria Fairbrother, Parr the late great Kevin Lloyd, Lai Graham Sinclair, the Guard Commander was Colin Dunn, and Zill, who I'm sure we'll hear a lot about on this episode, was Claire Lewis. And for those of you who got the Blu-ray, you may have seen a wonderful interview with Claire Lewis on the Blu-rays, which is superb. Really, really enjoyed it. Dave seems to be having issues with his technical side of things, but we have got him back. Lynn, we will come to you first then. Overall, your views on this episode. I'll give mine at the end. What's your views on this episode?
Yeah, it's become a real favourite of mine, actually. I think when again, you get those memories of, hey, Bill agrees, excellent. My memories, of watching it the first time a little bit later is that I was a bit disappointed, I suppose, at the time. There was, and what I see now is there's more of Travis's trial and less time with Blake on the planet than I remember. So I had it switched around. And I think, thinking about it, part of what I enjoy is all of that. You get more about the Federation, the politics, the people in it. And I enjoy that more, I suspect, than when I was younger. So I think the balance is really good. I think we've got multiple trials. We can talk about that. Brian Croucher's best moments as Travis I think, in this episode, without a doubt. I know we can come on to Martinez and so on, but I guess part of it, it feels like he's getting on better with this director than he has done in the others, and we've talked about that before. The marvelous irony, actually, of our heroes effectively saving Travis's life unwittingly is kind of lovely. I like the interaction between Servalan and Tharnia as well. So I like it. I think it's not sure if it makes Blake feel any better, actually, overall. And so I'm not quite sure about the jokey ending. I would have preferred something a little more bleak, which is possibly more in keeping. But, back at it. And I would also have liked to see maybe them hearing effectively that they saved Travis. That would just have made them feel even worse. I think it moves along, and it pulls those strands together as well. Halfway through, you're like, well, okay, Blake's back off the planet. We've still got a trial going on, but what's going to happen for another 15, 20 minutes or so? And then it all pulls together. A favourite, most definitely.
Nick, a favourite of yours?
I wouldn't say it's a favourite, but I do like it. I think I'd have liked it a bit more if they'd had a bit less of Zil and her oneness and more on the trial and the attack on the headquarters. Indeed, Steve. That would be lots of people who are only listening to this, won't it?
Exactly.
And traumatise those that are watching. I liked the sort of continuity element in that they had Rontaine and Burkholm back, who we'd seen first in Cyclocate Destroy. And I thought they were good characters, and they sort of reminded me a little bit of high-ranking sort of Nazi types, which I suppose is essentially what they are. Plotting
good
and scheming. And I thought they were really good in their roles. And Kevin Lloyd as Trooper Parr was another relatively small part, I suppose, overall, but he did it really well, and he gave a real good impression of what it was like to serve with Travis, and the fact ultimately that he disclosed, to Tharnia that he'd been part of the crew doing all the killing. Travis had just ordered it. So I thought that was quite clever as well. And I agree with Lynn in so much as I think this is probably Brian Crouch's best effort as Travis, for me anyway. With the one exception where he's ranting at the trial and he says, "So are all of you." I thought that one line was just it's not quite as the rest of it, but yeah. But I thought overall it was more like the old Travis in this, the original Travis, should I say? I liked it. So yeah, for me, good plot. They could have just done a little bit less of the planet thing for me. I thought it was a bit of a padding element that they could have done without and done more on the trial and the attack on headquarters.
Okay, Dave, first time you'll have watched this, coming thick and fast for you. So, what was your feelings on the episode overall?
I've got to stay calm and get into my oneness for this.
Okay.
I thought the storyline was very good. It was interesting. Lots of subplots, lots of politics. Completely ruined by Blake going down on the planet and seeing that extra from Play School. Totally unnecessary. I mean, ridiculous. I just don't understand the BBC sometimes. And I'm not talking about Jimmy Savile. I mean, things like this.
Wow.
I know. The episode would have been superb had they not. What they could have done is they could have had the episode as was without the planet segment. Blake could have gone off into the canteen and ruminated on the fact that he's killed Garn and is he turning into a dictator and all of this stuff. They could have done that on the spaceship. They could have had the trial. They could have had the attack on the HQ. And it would have been a great episode, but the planet was ridiculous. Zil, I literally couldn't believe it. And I thought I was now well acclimatized to this program. But when I put this on and that turned up, I wish you could have seen it, Steve. I just sat there and went, "What? Really?" Or words to that effect. Completely ridiculous character, and makes me think that somebody in the Blake 7, I don't know, the producer, somebody had a death wish and they had to spoil. There's something that ruins almost every episode for me, and this was totally unnecessary and totally stupid. And I think my plot line was much better if they didn't do the plan. But hey, I'm not the director, so there you go. Other than that,
Yeah, because what you wanted, you're right. What you wanted was Blake really thinking about what he'd done and the implications, which was all set up when he left the ship and all set up by his message. And then, you didn't really get any of it, actually.
Well, originally, and I think I mentioned this last week, the original script that came, and a lot of the scripts for Series B that came across to Boucher, who really took a grip of Blake 7 from Series B onwards, were like, they're almost half written, or some of them just didn't have continuity or make sense as things progressed. And Boucher was the one who added the trip to the planet for Blake, because originally it meant that after the death of Gan, there was no Blake really in this episode, which was ludicrous. And that was the reason that Boucher decided to take Blake to a planet to take time out and to reflect and to give them the option of leaving him on the planet. Had he gone to his room, the way that Chris described it was, if he'd gone to his room, they wouldn't have had that kind of thing, and it wouldn't have been much of an episode if they just said, right, well, if you don't agree with us, just teleport us down to the nearest planet and we'll just all move on. So that was the reason that Boucher brought this in, and that was the reason that he wrote this in. You know, I don't know, I get it, and I agree with what you're saying, Dave, but I think that was the reason that he did it. And he put, in essence, as the program guide synopsis says, Blake put himself on trial. There was no guarantees that they would have come back, and we saw that on the flight deck with the crew.
You could have done that with better special effects. We didn't need the liberal use of the BBC smoke machine again. We didn't need the water pistol shot. And we didn't need that bloody idiot prancing around in some green leotard with a tongue sticking out, you know. So they could have done all of that much better and possibly cheaper. And I'm starting to
They couldn't do it any cheaper, Dave. There was the budget. I hate to mention it, Dave.
The budget.
The budget, unfortunately, was an absolute issue on this. And again, it was because, you know, they came on board, somebody who was used to using softly and that kind of budget, you know, and there was just no there was no budget.
First mention of budget.
Okay, Neil, over to you, mate. Did you enjoy the episode, Neil?
Yeah, I did, and it's another key episode, to be honest, and it sets up what comes next in Series B. And you know, Boucher's written it, and the setting of the crew being on the Liberator allows them all to have really good lines and really good dialogue in character. So I think that's sharp, and that's something that Boucher brings, that sharp dialogue, which is something that I really like about the better episodes of Blake 7. It's cleverly written. The story gives two direct parallels of trials. Travis is on trial by the very organization that he serves, if you want to put it that way, the Federation, and putting him on trial, whereas Blake is putting himself on trial. So there's the subtle difference between the two, but both Blake and Travis are on trial in a sense, and Blake is without doubt self-pitying to an extent, guilty, feeling guilt, a lot of guilt, remorse, perhaps a little bit of self-serving in there as well, and a little tad of narcissism maybe. I don't know, but Blake has inflicted this on himself. Cutting himself off from his crew, leaving without his gun in a very kind of blasé way, teleporting down with Aurak so people can't track him. He wants to abandon himself, and that's the way that he sees his way of getting past the issues, which is a direct parallel to where Travis is. And of course, he's being put on trial for the very things that he's employed to do. a point that he makes when he takes over the trial from Thania in his own way, when he comes forward there very bluntly. And it's quite interesting there that in the last episode, Travis points out that he gave the order and he's a product of Space Command training. Mm-hmm. And of course, interesting, in the last episode, Kazabi pointed out that Servalan is a credit to her upbringing in a kind of similar way. They've both trained and been brought up in some way to be who they've become. And you get the sense that this is the very kind of newish federation that's emerging. It goes further, of course, after the end of Series B with the war, etc., etc. So, and Rontaine Burkholland, to extent, not to extent, but also Samor, that's it, isn't it?
Samor.
Yeah, that one. Are a product of the old federation. And you get the sense that they're not in tune with this, or aren't approving of this new direction the federation is taking. So I kind of take that out from it, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the scenes with Rontaine and Burkholland with the kind of political commentary, but also you could kind of see that bureaucratic. You see in a lot of large organizations, people in round the water cooler, if you like, having a chat about those above them and what they don't like, do like, and bringing that element to it kind of gives a hint on a disconnect between what Servalan and Travis are doing and these guys, members of the High Council, are seeing evolve in terms of the Federation. So that's an angle that I kind of took from it. Old Starkiller and Rontaine and Burkholland, the bureaucrats, put my teeth in, aren't aligned with the way that things are going. And of course, it's very clever, isn't it? What comes through from, as ever, it's all been strategized by Servalan for her own political expediency. She wants it to be a whiter than white trial. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be by the book. She iterates this point to Thania. Nothing can go wrong. There can't be any prying eyes or anyone having any suspicions on it. She also ensures cleverly that the trial is for incidents that occur before she was in office. So in Seek, Locate, Destroy, Travis was mentioned as being suspended, and it's Servalan that brings him back from suspension for the massacre on Auros, yeah. Whereas he's been put in trial for the massacres on the planet beginning with Z, which I can't find right now.
That's the one.
Zercaster, that's it. So she's covering all bases, and she doesn't want any link at all to what Travis has been put on trial for. And it's hinted at that to a degree as well. She wants Travis out the way because of the failure of the Blake affair, as they call it. So nothing can come back to her. And Travis is a little bit of a risk in ensuring that doesn't happen for Servalan. So it's all very strategic. It's all very politically expedient. Old Starkiller is there because he's seen as a figurehead of the military or Space Command, so to speak. So everyone will trust his verdict as lead arbitrator there. And it's all whiter than white in this clever, manipulative way that Servalan wants to do things to make sure that nothing comes back to her in any way, shape, or form. As for Zil, I think it's the execution. If I'm going to be honest, the idea is for Blake to get back to not being alone there. So to reject that whole idea of oneness, not being out by himself, becoming part of his crew again, etc., etc. Whereas Travis, again, in this juxtaposition, this contrast, is going in completely the other way. He's going to become this loner, to be all by himself. So I think they're the two parallels of the storyline, which are quite clever. But I think it's the execution that lets it down. That planet where it opens up and it eats Zil, and actually the outfit and maybe it's the characterization of Zil or the direction of Zil, I don't know. The way that is executed as well doesn't strike a great chord. But I think underpinning the entire episode. It's clever. The crew get really good lines and get really good dialogue, and they all get apart within that, which is really refreshing to see. The two contrasts between Travis and Blake that I've mentioned, not just the trials, but actually what they try, the trial that Blake's put himself on, and the way that Blake is coming back to his troop and Travis is moving away from his troop, so to speak, is clever as well. So the parallels of these two individuals there, which are very, very different individuals, and of course are constantly at odds with each other. I just think that's all clever. So overall, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Right. See you next week.
Not yet, Dave. Not yet. I enjoyed it, and I made a comment to Lynn off screen before we came on that I genuinely don't have that much affection for Series B. But the more that I'm watching it, and it's about 6 years since I've watched it back like this, I'm enjoying it a lot more. Why? I don't know. The script writing and the storylines are good. Yes, Blake Seven's always going to have those set and budget frailties, but I really enjoyed this episode more than I thought I would. I always preferred Stephen Greaves Travis. Sorry, Brian. But, this was, and I'll reiterate what you guys have already said, one of Brian's better moments. And I think the reason it was one of Brian's better moments, and I think Lynn alluded to it slightly earlier, that Derek Martinez, well, there was a friendship there between him and Brian. That's why they got on. Derek did give a lot more to Brian, a lot more love and affection behind the scenes. I think the fact that Kevin Lloyd and Brian used to live together probably had a big thing on this. He was working with somebody who he got on with, behind the scenes as well. And the fact that Chris Boucher made a big point as well. Everyone was aware, the cast, the crew, everyone was aware of the relationship that Brian had with the director previously. And Boucher gave him some really good stuff to do in this. And I think Boucher, in another interview that I've seen, was very, was very aware that he did a great job, but he gave him something to do, which was great. Without going into other stuff, with getting back to the episode and what goes on behind the scenes later, I loved the fact that Servalan had another woman, in the organisation. I quite like that. I like the fact that there was another powerful woman who, incidentally, I thought looked quite like Jacqueline Pierce. I had to double check it wasn't like a sister. It wasn't.
Servalan must have interviewed her for the job.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
I love the line about mages can be lost quite quickly.
That was great. It was great, wasn't it? But I like that. I like the way that Blake did his video. I mean, I think with hindsight, that maybe could have written that slightly better. But I did like it. I like the fact that there's this video and it came on when the base, you think he would have left us some kind of note, and then it comes on the screen. I quite like that little intro. Blake then gives this long speech, which everyone looks at. Avon, of course, at the start reacts as you would expect Avon to do. He's more or less saying, like, let him get on with it. But I think what develops in this episode is that we see that Avon would miss Blake, although he gives this bravado of, yeah, go on, Blake, get yourself away so I can take the ship and we can all go make lots of money. I think as this episode develops, you see more of, well, actually, I'd be a bit gutted if Blake leaves because I've got nobody to fight with. He likes the fight with Blake. He likes the power struggle with Blake. He agrees with a lot of Blake's principles and ideals, but, he disagrees with some as well. So there's that, that love to hate kind of relationship, which you can see Avon wants to get Blake back, really. But he just likes that game. He likes that whole game. I love the fact that we've complained about the crew having nothing to do on the ship. I did like the fact that suddenly we decided to have a game of space chess develop and it was very Star Wars like. It wasn't, obviously it wasn't like moving pieces on the board kind of thing as we've seen with Star Wars, but I thought at least it was something different. I'd love to know what the rules are and whether anybody out there has ever played it. But yeah, there was that, and who actually won the game, more so. But yeah, getting down to the planet, I agree. Look, we all know the budget frailties are an absolute nightmare.
That's 3 times. That's your lot.
It was better It was better than I thought it was going to be, better than I remembered it. I deliberately haven't watched the Blu-ray version yet, but I will. Yeah, the costume for Zil wasn't great. The characterization was all Claire's idea. I remember that video that the documentary. It was all her idea. She decided to do the whole tongue thing, etc. She wasn't directed to do that, but the costume let her down. I liked the principle of it. I didn't like the voice. I felt that the voice at the trial, the robotic kind of voice at the trial was then transferred into Zil. I felt as if we'd discovered some kind of new way to distort voice, and they decided to use it on the planet and at the trial, but I didn't quite like that. But it was two stories joined together, and we know why, because Boucher had decided to do that to give Blake something to do, and so the Blake was used in this episode in more than going off to his room. I did feel that the again, like Dave said, the water pistol effect and the rocks being thrown. I just thought Gareth Thomas, for a great actor that he is, his reactions weren't really very convincing in that. As soon as someone chucks a rock at you on an uninhabited planet, you're going to say something and do something. The fact that he allowed it to happen twice and then get squirted in the face with a water pistol twice, it just felt like they were filling time, which I just thought could have been better used elsewhere. He could have caught Zil straight away. I thought the interpretation of Zil was good. I thought, forget the costume. I put that out of my mind and just concentrate on the characterization. She did very well as an actress to play that part, and I got it. I think she was basically her part was like a parasite, a flea.
Probably quite a blank characterization, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and believe it or not,
what are you going to do with it? Kind of scenario.
Boucher describes her character as a flea based on Gaia and Greek mythology. I mean, that's pretty deep, isn't it? But when you go to the levels of going to that kind of intellectual writing, and then you have to sew her into a costume, I thought that was I just think it was a bit bizarre. But anyway, overall, yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought the story was good. I like the fact that Blake, when he does come back, has then decided, okay, we're all back together again. Well, what we're going to do, let's go and make a statement. We've lost one of our crew. It's all my fault. I take the full responsibility. But the fact that you've all said you're still with me. Let's go and attack. Servalan's base, and I thought that was a great twist. And I think
doesn't take him long though, does it, Blake, to try and reassert himself? Avon says it will be one more death, and that could be it. Yeah. They may all leave you, and straight away he's only just got back up there. Then you'd better be very careful. It would be ironic if it was yours. He's only just been rescued by Avon. Whose technical expertise saves Blake. Yet again, Avon saves Blake. There's a bit of a run of these things happening where Avon, who hates Blake allegedly but doesn't, we all know that, saves him. But Blake comes back on board and straight away is I'm in charge. I'm alpha male, and I'm back from my oneness.
Dave, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, he goes away and does all this soul searching, and he comes back and carries on exactly the same as he did before. That was the point from that. So But, yeah.
The last thing I'll say on the episode, I loved Gan, in a lot of ways. But as we all have said on here, time and time again, he didn't have much involvement, didn't have many lines. And, the crew didn't really involve him in anything to a great deal. So why in this episode did we keep hearing, wonder what Gan would have done? Because at the end of the day, you never asked him when he was alive. Why bother now? So, yeah, I just genuinely thought that was a bit of a, that was a bit stupid as well. But that comes with different script writers, etc., I guess. But, it all sounds fairly positive so far on that score. So Lynn, I'll come back to you on the performances of the actors. Was there anybody for you who stood out? We had quite a packed cast this time round.
There was quite a lot, wasn't there? I think general things first. Well, I've already mentioned Brian, right, and that that episode as Travis, I say, is probably definitely for me the strongest of Brian's Travis episodes. So I enjoyed watching that again. The stillness at the start of the trial, and then he really goes for it. And he is indeed. We've talked about he does go slightly off on the deep end with the and so are all of you. But the themes, again, he's pointing out exactly what someone's mentioned, what Servalan doesn't want him to point, and something that old Starkiller and others, he's pointing out to them that you all did this. You're responsible for training people to do this, and this is everything they didn't want to hear, which made the verdict almost inevitable. But he knew that as well. So that I really enjoy that performance. And then, as far as the crew are concerned, I think it's a really strong episode. Apart from Blake, none of them goes anywhere. But they're all the interactions seem even more natural than usual. And again, is that a combination of Chris's script and Martinez's direction? They're just gelling, and they're showing very different reactions to Blake's disappearance and messaging. Jenna's really, she's really upset or hurt actually that Blake just went off.
She
didn't appear to trust them. And and didn't maybe mention it to her. You can tell that's really thrown her. Avon said, despite the bit at the beginning about we can go away and be really rich, he's left us. Let's just go, and yet he's the one entirely instrumental in driving Blake's rescue. And it's once again, it's kind of Avon's episode. When you look across all of that. He's just running all of those scenes on the Liberator are driven around Avon, as so is often the case. So I really enjoy all of those. Yes, Servalan, Thania. Servalan's still, she's maybe back actually to that very still Servalan that she was in the first two episodes in Seek, Locate, Destroy, particularly her first two. She's very still. She's very calm. Everything is white. It's all. Again, I think really her political scheming kind of side. There's no hint. We've had a little bit so far, but there's no hint of the camp or the kind of overblown at all. And I like the fact that we have Trooper Parr and the other two guards talking. So often we see Federation troopers in their helmets with their guns running around shooting, whatever they're doing. You've got a little more of the average person in the Federation just doing their thing, as you said. He gave the orders, we just did the shooting. So that picks up. I'm smiling at John Savardent because he comes back and plays, let's say, a rather different role later on, Dave. I'm very much looking forward to that.
You'll enjoy that one, Dave.
Oh yes, we've got a little way to go, but that
He's
that
not
is
a
going
butcher,
to
is he?
Sorry again?
He's not a butcher, is he?
No, he is not. But it is. Yeah, it's different again.
He's many other things.
He's many other things. No, it's gonna be great. But seeing again,
I think it'll send you into orbit, Dave.
Very good. So yes, playing that old, I think, as you said, Neil, that old guard, that old guard soldier, I suppose, and officer is a really nice counterpoint. So I think everyone has certainly of all our regulars, everyone has a pretty strong week. I mean, Blake is Blake. Yeah, he started off grumpy. He went down to the planet, didn't have much time to think about it, and is back to himself when we get back on the Liberator. But otherwise, I think everyone has a really strong week, and all of those additional actors really add to what we see. And Rontaine and Burkle, yes, it's someone described it elsewhere as it's a bit of a Greek chorus kind of piece. They're sitting at the side, they're describing things, putting the background in. So yeah, good writing, good direction, and everybody steps up to that.
Nick?
Right?
Well, I would largely echo what Lynn's just been saying. Really, I thought the guest cast was great this week. From an old Doctor Who perspective, I've seen Peter Miles as Rontaine.
Yeah.
He's superb. If you've never seen him before, Dave, watch Genesis of the Daleks. He's in that. He's very, very good. And yeah, John Savardens is extremely different to his latter portrayal, which is to come season D, near the end, isn't it? So yeah, he was very good, and he had that, like Lynn said, old guard perspective. Somebody there to maintain the standards and keep law and order, and he did it very well. He had a very serious poker face, didn't he? And who was the other one? Yeah, Kevin Lloyd, Strooper Powers. He was very good, and I thought it gave that impression of your ordinary bloke in the Federation, what they get up to. When he had that conversation with Thanos, he was just saying that when you're up to your knees in mud and lasers, or however he worded it.
Slime and lasers.
Slime and lasers, there you go. That's everything, referring to Travis's method of command. So I thought he was a great character to have in, and I thought he did really well. So yeah, good supporting cast, good script. Could have done with less of the Zill thing, but hey, I enjoyed it. It's a good story.
Okay, Dave?
Yeah, good story. Generally good acting throughout, I thought. Possibly the first episode that we've had where extras were allowed to speak in this. There was very few people on screen who didn't actually speak this week, which was a nice change. So, yeah, I was quite impressed with the acting all around. I've got one major disagreement with everybody else tonight, and it's Travis. I didn't think Travis was good at all. I could repeat what I said last week about Travis this week. Even when he's standing or sitting down saying nothing, he looks as if he's overacting to me. There's just something, it just doesn't gel at all. And again, when he's talking at the end and he's giving his speech, he's standing in front of people and he's screaming and shouting at them. He just can't act for me. I definitely won't be going to the conference later in the year, Steve. But yeah, better not. I just think he's really poor. And I was surprised that you all thought if this was his best episode, I don't know what I'm in for in the future. I just think he's really... really hammy.
Yeah.
Ham served thick, Dave, I think is the best way of saying it.
Yeah, he slices
the next two.
Yeah.
You'll have plenty to say on the next two for that.
Well, I just don't get why you all thought he was so good. I just kind of get away. I'm still seeing Rodney from Fools and Horses. And every time he opens his mouth, his diction and everything is just so wrong for the part. And he's got this stare with his chin in the air. He just doesn't do anything at all for me.
To be more accurate, Dave, I think we said that it was his best performance.
We did.
It's
all relative.
And what's the thing with his eye patch? It changes. His eye patch is, in some scenes, it's molded plastic eye patch, and in other scenes, it's like a piece of cut out black cellophane. I mean, it's got a different texture in different episodes and in different scenes sometimes. If you see him sitting down in this episode with his head back, it's all sort of textured and, and then in other scenes when he's standing talking to anybody, it's just a stuck-on bit of plastic. It's not consistent, his eye patch, but never mind. In terms of other actors, I thought they were all very good. I did think Fred Elliott was excellent.
I think Fred Elliott was excellent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's been waiting for that all evening, hasn't he?
Yeah, I have. I say Fred Elliott was excellent. He didn't repeat any of his lines once. I say he didn't repeat any of his lines once. So, but yes, I think the main thing about it was that everybody who was on screen seemed to have a speaking part, and that made it more natural. So, apart from Travis, and of course Zill, which I just thought was pathetic. I don't agree with you at all, Steve, that she did the part. What did you say? She did the part well, or she?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't. She was ridiculous, absolutely ludicrous. So her and Travis were poor. Fred Elliott and everybody else, excellent. I say excellent.
Excellent. Neil.
And I'll start at the top, seeing as we're looking at Travis and the obvious difference between the two actors that have portrayed Travis. I just struggle with Brian Crouch's portrayal of Travis, if I'm going to be totally honest. And it's I think there's a clever element to what he was trying to pull off, whereby Travis during the trial was trying to make out that he was psychotic in front of the arbiters, etc., or at least a little bit unhinged. But then, of course, when Parr offers him that drink, he shows that he's still as sharp as a tack and knows exactly what's going on there. So I think that was quite clever in what was trying to be portrayed. But Travis, to all intents and purposes, in the trial is just sulking in a chair, like a 6-year-old child or something. And I just think that was there could have been different ways of portraying that. So that didn't convince me. And then he starts to deliver when he delivers speeches like when he takes over his defense, and it starts off well, and then all of a sudden, bang, it goes into ham. Unfortunately, It's like he can't help doing that to close it off, to make an impression, etc., and I just think that's where it lets it out. It's almost like a less is more would have been better, rather than going for them end lines. It doesn't. It doesn't totally convince me as a performance, unfortunately. It has potential there, and then all of a sudden it lets itself down. I think, obviously we mentioned John Savardon, we've mentioned the guy from Doctor Who, whose name escapes me right now, and the guy who played Burkott, of course, who appears later on in Series C as well, in a very different role. Mm-hmm. I just think they all did really great jobs. I like Thania as well. I thought she did a really great job as kind of being a would-be Servalan, which I think has already been kind of pointed out. Yeah. She very much is also part of this kind of new federation that's evolving, I think, as well, in the way that she's part of Servalan's scheming. So they all do a good job. As for Claire Lewis, I'm starting to think that it is a bit silly, the whole Zill thing, but what was she given to actually work with, and the interview that she gave about it was that she was given almost free reign. Now, if it didn't work, then surely it's up for the director to come in and go, that's not what we want. Do you know what I mean? We want, particularly if the sheet is quite blank, so to speak, on what it is to deliver there. So I can't totally lay that at her door. I don't like the portrayal of Zill, if I'm going to be honest. Probably a really difficult task to play that little small role, to be honest. It was quite a strange role, but yeah, that's what I see. And all the cast, the main cast do a great job. For me, though, apart from Gareth Thomas, for once, I thought he was a little bit off in this episode, without actually being able to put my finger on exactly what it was. He didn't command the screen in ways that he usually does, and perhaps that was because of the elements of the script that he was given. I don't know, but the rest of the cast, I think the lead cast do a really good job. Villa doesn't have much to say, though, does he, really, in this episode either? But I just think that they're all there, they're all in character. Particularly Avon is really in character, but you get good lines for Callie and Jenna as well, and good moments for them too. So yeah, the main cast are all there as well. Trooper Parr, I'm going to mention, of course, is a bit of a cult hero for Blink 7 fans. One of them ones that, has appeared in a lot of fanfic kind of stuff as well, beyond this story, and is a well-loved character. And of course, the late Kevin Lloyd, I think, has already been pointed out, does a really good job of making that character memorable and meaningful. Them scenes with Travis around the drink where they're showing all the kind of military, stuff, the hierarchy is there, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. But there's a respect there as well, isn't there? Travis respects him, he's respected Travis back, as comes up with Parr's conversation with Thania as well. So I think they're really that's a really, really good way to make a small role really memorable, which says that that's a really good performance.
A few updates just from behind the scenes, which is what I've tended to do in this series. We had a pay strike at the BBC, which caused delays in filming for everybody, not just Blake 7.
So was that a
Blake,
issue, Steve?
well, it was a budget issue, but not with Blake 7, with the BBC. They weren't paying enough. So yeah, a lot of the camera guys went on strike. Sound engineers, etc. So big gap in between rehearsal and filming for some of these episodes, especially the Liberator stuff on the flight deck.
Was it the same time as Sharda, Steve?
Yes, and it was, but Hostage and Trial were both affected by this because they were both shot more or less back to back. There was a death behind the scenes as well. Duncan Lamont passed away, an actor who had been basically hired to play a part in Hostage as well, which took place during the filming of Trial. He had a heart attack, and it was a bit sudden, so that was a big. There was also an interview which Sally Nivette and Jan Chappell had given to a journalist, which then appeared in the News of the World, which caused hell on behind the scenes, which basically had said that they are just there to make the tea, which of course they hadn't said, but been misquoted. But that was the headline that was used in the News of the World. Contracts were also up for renewal at this time with some of the cast. I'm not going to give too much away about that, so I don't want to spoil it for Dave. But yes, there was some people who had said that they weren't going to come back for Series C. Watch this space, Dave. We also had a new set designer. Jerry Scott was brought in, as I mentioned, I alluded to earlier. He had designed sets on Porridge, Dixon of Dock Green, and it was him who was responsible for the planet on Trial. And we also had, and I'm sure you will have all realised, a changing costume designer. June Hudson had been removed, and we had a new arrival. Barbara Kidd arrived, which did cheer up Sally Nivette and Jan Chappell, because it meant that Barbara Kidd had certainly designed the costumes for this episode. She come on board with somebody else whose name eludes me, but yes, Barbara Kidd came in and she changed Sally and Jan Chappell's costumes, and a lot more
Functional.
Functional, I would say, yeah. Although Sally had this costume, which one of our Blake 7 fans who comes to the convention likes to wear on a regular basis. This one, and yeah,
she wears it well.
It was a bit more practical, shall we say?
I've got written down here the costumes. Actually, costumes were a lot better across the board. Of course, Villa isn't wearing that ridiculous costume that he wore last time out.
No, he now looks like Baldrick from Blackadder.
Yeah, which is more in fitting with his character.
Probably does. Yeah.
And he runs out of his salmon red as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Actually, that's what it reminds me of now that you mentioned it.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So we've got Blackadder, we've got Only Fools and Horses, we've got Coronation Street.
I say we've got Coronation Street. And nightclubs as well, with all the dry ice that's come in recent weeks.
The Liberator nightclub.
Liberator. Yeah, go on.
I was just thinking about, because I knew June Hudson had moved on from this partway through this series, but then, excuse me, I was thinking about Killer, which is next, which is quite infamous for some of June's costumes. That's all I'm going to say.
It's filmed.
It was filmed around the other, and that's why I had to check, was it actually June on the other one? And I've just looked, and it absolutely is, as you say, because of the way they filmed them. So we do have one last hurrah as far as June's costumes are concerned. Brace yourself, Dave.
Okay, I know that Nick has to get away because Leeds United, his beloved Leeds United, are playing Everton tonight. So what we will do is we'll just go around and we'll go for our marks out of 10 tonight. I'll start off, Lynn. I'm going to give this. I'm going to give this a 9 again. I'm back-to-back 9s. I think this is. I really enjoyed it. Good episode. It was one of those episodes that had us hooked. And I remember bits of it, didn't remember the rest. But again, great storyline. And I'm going to give it a 9. And bearing in mind, I started off pretty weak with my marks in Series B, but I'm starting to get into it and enjoy it. So yeah, 9 for me, Lynn.
Okay. I'm giving it an 8, except that's a strong 8, if you like. I think there are a couple of things, the challenges with the planet pieces drop it down a little bit for me. But yes, an 8. And Bill, I would agree, is still one of the first true aliens in the show, apart from the system. Yes.
And the Decimers, of course. Decimers.
Oh, let's not forget them.
Well, that's a good question. Are they alien? But they were constructed.
Genetically
effectively.
modified something, weren't they? They were created, but they are.
That's what he means.
They are alien, aren't they?
That's what he means by true alien. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the system aliens? Not sure. They're
I always thought yes. Well, I mean, in the Star Trek.
robots, aren't they?
Sorry, are
They're
they?
human, half robot.
Are they? Or is it one of the Star Trek universe kind of, aliens are either a different color or have,
I think
different ears?
that's
or
how I
something
took
like that?
them.
I don't know, actually. I'm not sure it's explained.
Divine alien. Is it someone that's born on another planet? But yeah.
Good question, Bill. Good question. You've got us thinking. Nick, what about you?
I think I'd go 7 on this one. I enjoyed most of it, but I think I gave 8 to last week's episode, and I think it wasn't as good as that. So 7.
Okay, 7. I forgot to change the background, Dave. So you didn't have your usual the fighting partner. You've made comments about this in the past, and it's gone completely over people's heads, Dave. There's Callie next to you.
Yeah, she never says a word every week. She never speaks. She's on every week, and she never speaks. Yeah, absolutely.
What was your mark, Dave?
Right, I've given it 7. I would have given it 8 if they'd cut out the planet crap.
Yeah, same.
Is that what the planet was called?
Yeah, well, it should have been.
Well, it's Planet Spit, wasn't it?
I just mentioned seeing rushing through it. There was some great lines in the episode, and there was a great unintentionally, well, I think it was unintentional, funny line from Trooper Parr, offering the one-eyed Travis a drink with the line, "It's good stuff, sir. It won't get you blind drinking that." I thought it was very funny.
I noticed that this time as well. I never have done before. I'm like, ouch, that's a bit,
That's a funny line, isn't it? Yeah.
Avoid stuff that makes you go blind, trust me.
Yeah. And so it's now the time to mention
There's Travis, though.
Steve,
Sorry, Dave.
should I reveal last week's pseudonym and just draw?
Yes, please do it now, Dave.
I got 556 emails from our viewer, and last week I was Bobby Darin, and the connection was Bobby Darin was in a film, I think it was 1962, with Sidney Poitier, called Pressure Point.
I got it, Dave.
Steve got it, smarty.
I looked it up and saw it.
And this one's dead easy, but we'll leave it for our viewer to guess, and we'll reveal it next podcast.
Joseph K. There we go. Joseph K. is the clue. Anyone get that? Yes. And email Dave separately. You might not see it for the 556 emails that he gets from our listener. Neil?
So I really like the way as well, we've mentioned the 2 parallel storylines, but I like the way that the final irony that Blake coming back for his final shot for Gan actually frees Travis, his nemesis. So I like that final irony as well. I think that's clever as well. So I gave last week's an 8. I think I'm going to give this week's an 8 as well. It would have been a 9, I think, apart from the planet and the Zill and the Blake kind of self-pity thing. I just didn't think all that fitted well with me, but the rest of it is pretty damn good. It is another really strong episode in Series B.
Good stuff. Fantastic. Good to see you all again. Thanks to everybody who is watching live tonight. Of course, we will be back in February with 2 episodes. Dates to be confirmed. But for now, good luck to Leeds United tonight, Nick.
Aye.
Absolutely.
Good night, everybody.
Cheers,
Bye.
guys.
Cheers.
The word, switch the bracelet on the word, the word, switch the bracelet on the word, the word, switch the bracelet on the word.